Well, good day to you. It is March the 8th. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. My name is Gary Willing. I want to welcome you to Search for Signs and point out if you're new, remind you, perhaps even bug you if you've heard these videos before. If you want to know more about Maitreya, read more about them by going to the websites that I provided links for in the description portion of these videos. You can educate yourself better about it that way. You can learn more about them, and you can even see if there's any truth to it by doing that. So hopefully you'll look into it. If you want to learn more by joining the discussion, you might learn something by posting comments, but you'll hopefully learn more by asking questions, by posting your questions in the comments section. You can email me your questions like some people do. I've personally learned more about this information by people sending me links to articles that talk about this information. I really do appreciate people who've done that from time to time. But I want to give a thanks and a shout out to Corey C., Rick Todd, Ricardo Pelsueso Lee, Zach Laney, Tout Soul, Ray, and Jose Gonzalez Jr. for commenting since the last time I put a video up. Thank you so much for doing that. All right. Now, I want to address Jose Gonzalez Jr.'s comment. Now, he's commented from time to time before, and you might not have seen his comments, but Jose does not agree at all with what I'm talking about here. He thinks Maitreya is the Antichrist, which is his right to do. It's fine. I'm totally fine with that. But I typically just leave his comments up and don't really address his comments. But this one I want to talk about because I actually took his suggestion and did it. He said, you should set up a poll and find out how many of your viewers think no, Maitreya is an Antichrist and how many believe he's a master. So I did just that, and I'll give you the results in just a second, Jose. Now, I was kind of teetering on the edge of whether to do it or not, and it wasn't because I was afraid of how people were going to answer. One thing, I don't think that my channel's popular enough to get any kind of polling either way. And then the second thing is, I don't think polls really matter either way. So it doesn't mean anything either way. Polls are polls. Opinions are opinions. As of the recording of this video, if you just want to know, the vast majority of people, and there was only 20 people who voted, but the largest percentage of those 20 people do not think he's the Antichrist. Does that sway your opinion either way? I'll say probably not. Just as it wouldn't have swayed my opinion either way if it swang back the other way, right? So it also just kind of depends on who you're polling. So if I went to, I don't know, the First Baptist Church here in Atlanta, which is an evangelical Christian church, would they, upon asked if Maitreya was the Antichrist or the return of the Christ, would they believe he is the Antichrist? I don't know anybody that would, and this is just my prejudice toward them, but would anybody even be remotely open-minded enough to even think it was possible? Probably not. But then again, if you asked every single person who's a part of the Share International group who's been putting this information out for year after year after year after year after year, if you ask those people, is he the Antichrist or the one awaited by all the world's religions, it's going to be the other side, right? Does that make it any more real? Probably not. But if I had to guess, and this is just coming from the person who puts these videos up, reads every single comment that comes my way, tries to answer the questions that come my way, I would say the largest percentage are unsure of whether this information is true, but are a little bit intrigued. And a little bit intrigued might mean they listen to a video for 30 seconds, a minute, 10 minutes, maybe come back and listen to another video, maybe comment here or there, but that's about it. The other largest percentage group are unsure, don't know, but think I'm totally crazy for putting these videos up. And then there's a smaller group, but yet the third largest group that is totally convinced that he is the Antichrist. And then an even smaller group, and probably the smallest percentage of people are 100% convinced that who and what I think Maitreya is and who and what Benjamin Creme thinks and said Maitreya is true. That would be the tiniest group. That's just my guess, but if that helps you out, Jose, that's what I would say is probably where we're at, right? But it's just where we're at right now. Most people upon hearing this information, how would you possibly know if it's true or not unless you take the time to look into it and investigate it for yourself? That's why I always encourage people to look at it. I have no fear of what your response or what your reaction is going to be upon reading more about this, to seeing if there's any truth to it or not. I'm totally detached on what you think. So that's why I kind of throw it out there. Hey, go look at it. If I was trying to hide something, I would encourage you to not go look and investigate it, right? But I want you to do that, because I think if you look at it with an open mind, you'll have a better sense of whether it's true for you or not. But I do know that a lot of people would still think it's not true, and that's okay. Now, the other thing is, and this is more directed toward the third largest group as far as I'm concerned, those people who are totally convinced that he's the Antichrist, comment about it, ask questions about it in that way, and those kind of things. I've always kind of thrown it back out to most people that are really convinced that he's the Antichrist. I always throw these questions out there to you, and it's just a question to get you to think. Have you ever seen him on TV and recognized him and heard what he had to say on TV or in the media or whatever? Have you ever seen him in your own life? Have you ever experienced his wisdom and his love? Have you ever taken the time to really investigate this information for yourself as a investigator, not with prejudice, as hard as that could be for most people in that situation to do, and really look at it and investigate it for yourself like a detective would do? Balancing both sides of the view, and then deciding for yourself whether it's true. Have you ever done that? And not one person's ever come back and said yes to any one of those questions. Now, myself, I've actually seen Maitreya on TV. I've actually heard him speak. I've seen how he is in life and those kind of things. I've learned from what he had to say, applied it to my life, grown from it in that way, experienced his love and wisdom in that way, and thus not convinced he's the Antichrist. I'm convinced he is who Benjamin Creme said he is. But that's because I've met him in that way. I've taken the time to study about Maitreya and apply some of the things that he's said and those kind of things, and seeing that it's changed my life in that way. Every single person, if you want to poll, every single person that I've ever met, without exception, that has seen him in their life and has recognized him as Maitreya, not one person has ever thought that he was the Antichrist upon meeting him, ever. They've all been blown away about how their life has changed for the better because of meeting him. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm just throwing that out there for you too. But, the danger in looking at polls, looking at everything, is to look to somebody else to validate your opinion, to your beliefs on things. And if you don't think that you do it, we all do it. But it's important to I think more important to look at what Maitreya says is core to his teaching, which is honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. And you can't just read it and say, okay, I got it, and then you're all good. You have to apply it to your life moment to moment as best you can in all sorts of situations that are comfortable, situations that are not comfortable, and learning how to relate to yourself to other people, that agree with you, that don't agree with you, that see your side of things, that don't, everything. And we really don't have very many examples of this in our lives for the most part. The best one that I would say that does it very well, if not perfectly, would be Krishnamurti. And he's not alive today, but you can watch some videos of him and get a sense of honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. Maitreya even said he was the perfect example of that. So that's why I'm throwing him in there as an opportunity for you to look at. The link is in the description for the channel of the group that puts up videos about Krishnamurti. But we really won't know how to live life perfectly like that until we see Maitreya, until we see these other masters and how they are. That's why it will be easier for us to understand what that truly means and apply it to our life when we start to see them. But if you are truly true to honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment, you don't care what other people think. Truly don't care. It's not that you say that you don't care. You truly don't care. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of reminds me, in a humorous way, it reminds me of this little vignette in Family Guy. And I can't remember how they set it up, but it was something to the effect of, why waste your time trying to give an expensive gift to a Buddhist, right? Or something like that. And this guy gives this Buddhist a brand new BMW or something, or a Mercedes or something. And he goes, oh, this is the perfect gift. Thank you so much. I love it. And this other guy gives the same Buddhist a paperclip, right? A paperclip. this is the perfect gift. Thank you so much. I love it. But that's the same thing that a person with true honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment would say about somebody who agrees with what they have to say, showers them with affection and devotion, and somebody who totally disagrees with what they have to say and is totally against what they have to say. I thank you so much, right? It's the perfect gift. I love it. They are totally detached from the other person's view. They don't look for their view. They don't look for validation in that way or anything. So to me, it's far better to take that to heart than to look to somebody else in a poll or opinion or whatever. Like I said, beliefs are just beliefs. Opinions are just opinions. Polls are just polls. But we're living in a world today where we are we're looking for agreement from other people. And then what happens is, and this is kind of where we're at today, is it's getting to such a fever pitch that certain groups, political and religious, are calling those people who do not think what they think or believe what they believe as evil, as satanic, worthy of execution and death even. And that's not good either. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just different types of people out there. We're not all the same. We don't all have to agree, but we're all part of the same family. And so when we divide each other in that way, and I know why these groups are doing it, political and religious especially, is it tightens the ranks. It keeps those people from escaping. Because if you got it right, and this is your group and the other group is evil, worthy of death, then why would you go over to that other group, right? You would probably have a better chance of staying with that group, right? So it closes in on the ranks, it tightens the group up, and therefore the person who is the authoritarian of that group has more control over that group. Makes sense, right? But those people, the vast majority of the people who perhaps are unsure, it creates more stress in their life. It's more tense to live in today than it was perhaps 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, and it wasn't quite so much like this, right? But that's the reason why I think most people are unsure about anything, whether it's this information or any other information, is because we're getting it from all sides. And what do? Well, I want to go back to what Jesus said 2,000 years ago. A tree is known by its fruit. If you don't know if Maitreya is the Antichrist or unsure or whatever, take some of the teachings of Maitreya, apply it to your life, and see if it doesn't change your life for the better. I did that very thing. It made it more real for me. It made it, yes, there is truth to this. Yes, to me now it's 100% true. Because I took what Maitreya said to me personally, some of the other things that I read in these books, applied it to my life, changed my life for the better. Well, there must be some truth to it. So that's what I would say would be better than just polling somebody. But thank you very much for the comment nonetheless. All right, now, lastly, I want to read something coming from Rick Todd. He said, reading the book, The Laws of Life, convinces me of how great a teacher Maitreya is. Thanks for your work you do, Gary. And thank you very much for the comments too, Rick. I wanted to say something about that because this is one of the books that's coming from the Share International groups that was published through them. And the teachings, The Laws of Life, some of them came directly from Maitreya through Ben, but most of them were indirectly through some of the talks that Ben had about Maitreya's teachings to his associate that gave some of the teachings and some of the information to the Share International group. So it's not 100% coming directly from Maitreya, but it's what he's about, is his teachings and those kind of things. And yes, it is something you really can learn from. But, when you talk about, when people like Jose and others like him are convinced he's the Antichrist, they fail to realize that how similar and how connected the teachings are because they're coming from the same source. Perhaps not the dogma and the external, words and parables in the Bible, not parables, but little verses in the Bible that were put in there by man. But I'm talking about the direct teachings coming from Jesus are the exact same that are coming from Maitreya, but just perhaps worded a little differently for different people. When Jesus talked and said, what you sow, so shall you reap, he was talking about the law of cause and effect. Every single teaching from every single major religion talks about the law of cause and effect in their own way. Now, humanity threw their own 2 cents in there, and it's distorted a lot of things, but the teaching is nonetheless the same, the core teaching. But this is coming from the laws of life, and this is how I want to end it. This is coming from Maitreya. He said, violent human actions disturb the earth's balances. What you sow shall you reap. We don't realize how much the actions and thoughts and those kind of things of humanity are not only affecting us individually, group-wise, and each other, but nationally, internationally, and even how it affects the environment and those kind of things. But he said on the 12th July, this is coming from page 81 of the Laws of Life. On 12 July 1993, Maitreya's associate sent a letter to American President Bill Clinton. In the last paragraph, referring to Yugoslavia, which is now the Baltic states, Maitreya's associate pointed out that the forces which have triggered and unleashed upon humanity imposing murderous sufferings, quote, will now reverberate in terms of major earthquakes and disastrous floodings, aerodynamic failures. Let your generals and scientists now watch and analyze the happening, unquote. Shortly afterwards, there were floods in several parts of the world, among other natural disturbances. The event which the West focused on was the disastrous flood when the Mississippi River burst its banks. The associate offered the information that Maitreya had enabled a small group of people to experience these events vividly, quote, as if they were there, unquote, in advance of the physical occurrence. Maitreya's associate and few others have written to a number of political leaders in a variety of countries detailing these trends and events. The letters referring to Maitreya as the world teacher and more generally try to develop a wider understanding of the laws of cause and effect, thus linking the violence of events such as those in Yugoslavia and elsewhere to subsequent natural disasters which can and do affect people not directly involved, but who nevertheless have to endure the consequences of a disturbed planet. So, he talks about this. These masters talk about the activity of nations and how they affect other nations in the world. The complacency of the United States affected the earthquake that happened, over 10 years ago in Haiti. To when a nation like the United States invades another nation, how it affects and causes violence and death in their own country. I mean, it's the law of cause and effect par excellence. But Maitreya, along with these other masters, will be teaching humanity how to live harmlessly within the law of cause and effect, so that that type of life no longer exists for humanity, and we live more harmoniously and those kind of things. So exactly the same as Jesus put it. What you sow shall you reap. But Jesus was talking very simply to uneducated people 2,000 years ago. Maitreya is talking to the whole world, but also a much more educated humanity than 2,000 years ago. But thank you very much, guys, for the comments. I look forward to more comments and questions in the future. You guys have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you real soon. Love you. Bye. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.